Messed it up already. What up, y'all? But we staying too lit to quit whatever it is you doing. Doesn't matter what you're doing, say too lit to quit. And today we'll be playing catch up on what's going on in the real world, huh? And plus, it's been a while since I came on. Is my thing on right now? We'll be checking up a lot of things. Let's check it out. Bam.
In today's video, we're going to make a prediction about what's going to happen on July 30th. Okay, so on July 30th, the Federal Reserve will decide whether to cut interest rates or not. So according to the Federal Reserve's most recent projection, and they did this back in June, they predicted that they're going to cut interest rates 2 more times this year in 2025. And as you can see, there are 4 more meetings left this year. So what's going to happen? And of course, this is so important because if the Federal Reserve starts cutting interest rates, then that's going to be inflationary. And this is also going to help the stock markets, Bitcoin, and precious metals. So let me walk you through this. So the Federal Reserve has 2 responsibilities. They call it their dual mandates.
That's how you
So
know
their
I'm
job
rookie
is
to
to
this
ensure maximum
bad boy,
employment and price stability. So in plain English, that just means that they're going to set their policies to ensure that our labor market is as good as it can be and that inflation doesn't get out of control. Of course, that's what they're supposed to do. Whether they're doing a good job or not, that's a matter of opinion, and that's for you to decide. So the most recent jobs report for the month of June was released in July, and that report beat expectations. It actually smashed expectations. So the report says that the US labor market added a net 147,000 jobs, beating the expectation of 118,000. And the unemployment rate decreased from 4.2% to 4.1%. And because the jobs report says that the labor market is doing so well, if you think about it, then that's less pressure for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates to save the labor markets because the labor market doesn't need any saving, according to the report. Okay, so when you look at the labor market, it supports the argument for the Federal Reserve to not cut interest rates. Now, I want to show you this video clip of Jay Powell, who's the chair of the Federal Reserve. So he's talking about how healthy the labor market is, and when it comes to inflation, you're going to see it for yourself. He says that he doesn't want to cut interest rates right now because he wants to see how the tariff inflation develops. So please take a look.
From our standpoint, what I can say is that the U.S. economy is in.
Okay, if y'all want to go by faster, just click it like this. Bam, bam. Go 1 point, whatever you want it, eh? But I like going 1.25 on this guy's video because he talks pretty fast.
In solid shape. Inflation has come down. The unemployment rate remains at 4.2%. As I mentioned, real wages are moving up. It's a good job creation is at a healthy level. Unemployment, again, as I said, low. Labor force participation in a good place. So, and what we're waiting for to reduce rates is to understand what will happen with really the tariff inflation. And there's a lot of uncertainty about that. Every forecaster you can name who is a professional forecaster with adequate resources and forecasts for a living is forecasting pretty significant. Everyone that I know is forecasting a meaningful increase in inflation in coming months from tariffs because someone has to pay for the tariffs.
Now, I want to show you the latest inflation figures, and this is from the month of June, and this is CPI inflation. So as you can see, the rates of inflation has been coming down over the past few years. However, the rate of inflation is still above the Federal Reserve's desired rates of 2%. But now, you have tariffs in the mix, and that's, of course, affecting inflation. And Powell is saying that the tariffs are going to increase inflation over the coming months. And if inflation is expected to accelerate, then that's a reason to not cut interest rates. And from the most recent CPI inflation reports, we're seeing tariffs accelerating the rate of inflation, particularly, no surprise, in goods inflation. So CPI headline inflation has shot up from 2.4% in May to 2.7% in June, which is, of course, a very big jump. And the thing is that retailers are gradually passing along the cost of tariffs to consumers so that they don't sticker shock and lose customers. So therefore, tariffs are expected to further accelerate the rate of inflation over the next few months. According to Jay Powell, he says that if it weren't for the tariffs, then he would have already started cutting interest rates by now. So I want to show you the video clip.
Chair, would the Fed have cut more by now if it weren't for the tariffs?
So I think that's right. In effect, we went on hold when we saw the size of the tariffs and essentially all inflation forecasts for the United States went up materially as a consequence of the tariffs.
Okay, so the situation is that there's a healthy labor market, which is a reason not to cut interest rates, and inflation.
What I like about this guy is that he breaks down everything, kind of dumbs it down for you so everybody, the normies, can understand like me.
Is accelerating, which is another reason to not cut interest rates. So that's why, according to the CME Fed Watch tool, there's a 95.3% chance that the Federal Reserve does not cut interest rates at their next meeting on July 30th. And you know what? I personally agree with those probabilities. I believe that there's a very high chance that the Federal Reserve does not cut interest rates in July. So if you ask me, they're not going to cut interest rates. Now, the next meeting after July is going to take place on September 17th. And there's a 39.3% chance that the Federal Reserve will not cut interest rates by that meeting. Okay, so why are the odds still relatively high that they're going to refuse to cut rates by then? It's because the Federal Reserve is saying that they're going to take a wait-and-see approach on whether to cut interest rates or not. And what they're waiting for are the developments with the tariffs. That's pretty much the biggest one. And they're saying that the effect of tariffs on inflation and or President Trump's policy on tariffs is going to take months to settle. And as you heard Jay Powell say, that there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And I do want to bring this up because this has been getting a lot of attention, and I'm sure that you've seen this in the headlines. So despite President Trump criticizing Jay Powell for not lowering interest rates, like I'm telling you, Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve, they're not going to listen to President Trump, at least not for the time being. So President Trump has been trying to fire Jay Powell, but the president cannot fire the Fed chair, Jay Powell. Trump has tried multiple times, but the Supreme Court said that Trump needs a valid reason. Okay, so this is Trump's most recent attempt. So this is what happened. So the Federal Reserve was supposed to spend $2.5 billion to remodel their headquarters, but they went over budget by $600 million. And Trump argued that this is cause to fire him. But this was just another attempt by Trump, and it looks like it's not going to go anywhere, and Jay Powell's going to finish off his term. But listen, I don't know if the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates in September or October or December or early next year. All I can tell you is that Jay Powell's term is going to end in May of 2026. And Trump's going to appoint a new Fed chair that's going to cut interest rates aggressively. And if Powell delays rate cuts even longer, then the new Fed chair is going to cut even more aggressively to make up for it. And of course, when that happens with lower interest rates, that's going to be explosive for stocks, for Bitcoin, for precious metals. And also another thing to think about is that it's not going to be just the interest rate cuts. They're going to switch to quantitative easing. And in layman's terms, that's just money printing if Powell doesn't get that started himself. Okay, so that's the situation right now. July, do not expect any interest rate cuts. Like, it's just not going to happen. Now, I do want to say for the September odds that I showed you, like the probabilities for a rate cut by that meeting, they're going to change dramatically after two events. So the first event is going to be the Federal Reserve FOMC press conference. So everybody's going to be listening to what Powell says. They're going to be trying to interpret his answers, and then that's going to change the odds.
Let's go to the next one.
Ubisoft just doubled down on their promise to take your games away from you. According to new statements by the CEO, Ubisoft still firmly believes that they should have the right to revoke your access from any of their live service games whenever they want, even if you've paid full price. At this point, I'm wondering if Pirate Software is their CEO.
Smoking.
Like, what's going on over there? What's next? Renting cutscenes for 24 hours?
Hey, Ubisoft is tripping. So they're basically telling you that you can buy your game, but they're just lending it. It's like they're lending you the game, but you bought it. Cause I think on there, like, let's say if they shut down a game or something, I think that you have to destroy your game, Ubisoft.
Or paying
Crazy.
a monthly fee to
Crazy
access our
folks.
save files. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Ubisoft started trying to charge customers to uninstall their games. And the best part about all of this is that this statement by the CEO is just the tip of the iceberg. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because things are about to get sloppy. But first, what's going on, guys? So recently, Ubisoft had a shareholder meeting, and there's been a lot of crazy headlines that have come out of that direct report. So let's jump into them here. The first one, Ubisoft CEO addresses Stop Killing Games after overseeing the deaths of the crew and X-Defiant. Quote, support for all games cannot last forever. The EU consumer rights campaign Stop Killing Games recently reached 1 million signatures earlier this month, which snowballed out of Ubisoft's own shutdown
tripping.
of their racing game The Crew back in 2024. Ubisoft CEO is Yves Guillemot. Did I say that right? Is that Yves Saint Laurent's brother? What are you doing in the gaming industry, buddy? Get out of here. Anyway, he was asked to respond to the movement at a recent shareholders meeting, and while that response was tentative, it wasn't a complete dismissal. Okay. Quote, regarding the petition, he's talking about Stop Killing Games, we operate in a market, and whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that the game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. The CEO says that the company provides, quote, information regarding the game and how long the game can be played, though he does not go into specifics about how those notices work. The Crew did have a badge on its front box noting online connection required, and a notice in the fine print on the back that Ubisoft may cancel access to one or more specific online features upon a 30-day prior notice. That response boils my blood. I'm going to lose my mind. He's over here saying, oh, we warned you by saying that it required an online connection. Buddy, I have an online connection. Nothing changed on my end. I've had an online connection the entire time. I had it before the Crew. I have it after the Crew, except before I could play it, and now I can't. So how on earth is that possibly a defense for taking access to the game away? Like, make it make sense, okay? And yeah, sure, on the back of the box, in fine print, it says they reserve the right to remove access to any of the online services, which, I mean, I don't know about you, but as a player, I don't immediately think, oh, when he says online services, he means access to the entire fucking game. Why the would I come to that? I'm thinking like, oh, like I won't be able to race other players online or something like that. Like, surely I'll still be able to access like campaign mode or something like that, right? He then goes on to say, okay, that a €1 fee was proposed to all buyers of the game. For just €1, they got to buy Crew 2, okay? And he says, quote, it's not a whole lot of money to be able to continue playing the game. Buddy, you need to paint the ceiling. I'm gonna be honest with you. You need to kick the chair, pal. They already paid you. They already paid you. They already, listen to me, okay? I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's a penny. They paid you for the game and then you took it away and said, well, if you want to keep playing, it's $1 more. Buddy, it's not about the dollar. It's not about the euro. It's about the principle, okay? He goes on to say, but this kind of issue is not specific to Ubisoft. All video game publishers are faced with that issue. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone, and at some point the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal, and we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers, because obviously support for all games cannot last forever. We're not asking for support forever, you absolute imbecile. We are asking you to just be able to play the game that we spent our money on. Listen to me. We don't want the entire game to be live service. Do you understand me? Since this retard can't get this through his head, let's use a really simple example, okay? I bought Gears of War a long time ago, and guess what happens if I put it into my 360 today? Guess who can play the single player campaign? Me. I can, because I bought the game and I own it and I have an Xbox. It doesn't matter if I'm online. It doesn't matter if there's still support for the game. It doesn't matter if Xbox Live gets deleted for the 360. It doesn't matter, because as a paying customer, what we expect is not an infinite live service game. What we expect is a game, a video game. It's so insanely simple that I don't understand. Like, well, I do understand it, right? I understand it. His statement and his position comes purely from a position of greed. There is no other logical explanation for how he arrives at his current opinion, okay? He is purely operating from a greed first short-term monetization strategy, and that's it. He has no respect for the customer. He doesn't know what the customers want. He genuinely, as CEO of a video game company, he doesn't know what his customers are looking for. It's actually that simple, and it blows my mind. We are not asking for you to provide a service in perpetuity. We're asking for what video games have always done since the Atari, is just when I buy the game, let me play the game whenever I want, even if it's in 5 years, even if it's in 10 years, whatever. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. We figured it out way back in the day when games came on a plastic cartridge for the Nintendo, okay? It's that simple. You're making it infinitely more complicated strictly so that way you can just drain every penny out of every customer that's ever walked through your doors. And then when we look at their stock price, look, it's $2.12. It's down another 1.85% today, and that's after a really heavy rebound in the last 20 minutes. We'll see how long that lasts. Look at the other gaming companies. Take-Two is up, Nintendo is up, Capcom is up, Microsoft is up. And this is why I said earlier that Pirate Software must be the CEO of Ubisoft, right? Because even if you asked an 8-year-old, hey, is it possible for a company to provide a service for the rest of eternity, right? The answer is no. Obviously, if you're not giving them money every month, they can't keep providing a service every month, okay? Everyone with the brain of at least an 8-year-old can understand this concept, right? And he has the audacity. Listen to this, okay? Quote, the lifespan of a piece of software, whenever there's a service component, eventually services may be discontinued because eventually the software may become obsolete over time. Yes, we understand that. You fool. You absolute clown. Everyone understands that these service components will not last forever, of course, okay? But is it really that insane to assume that when a video game player purchases a video game, they expect to have access to the video game? You are redefining what a video game is, and nobody asked for that. Nobody else is on board with that. Nobody agrees with you. Nobody agrees with you that the definition of a video game is a in perpetuity service. That's ridiculous, because we've got decades of examples of video games that still work on original hardware. He goes on to say, a lot of tools become obsolete 10 or 15 years down the line. Okay, well then why can I pop Mario Brothers 1 into my Nintendo Entertainment System and play it today? The original Mario Bros came out 39 years ago, and I can still play my original copy on the original hardware right now. Does this CEO know that? Someone needs to tell him, because it's going to blow his mind. Has he not discovered that it is possible for this software to be playable 39 years later? Is this blowing his mind? Does he not know that the technology has existed since 39 years ago? Like, where is this man from? How does he arrive at these conclusions? I know the answer. It's pure greed. But like I said at the beginning of this video, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned, because this is just the iceberg, folks, okay? Let's take a look at another one of his statements here, okay? Ubisoft says microtransactions make games more fun. Yes, sir. This was reported by Game Reactor, okay? And what do they say here? It says, in its latest quarterly report, Ubisoft argues that microtransactions, those in-game purchases we all know and love to grumble about, are not just a revenue stream, but actually enhance the gameplay experience. How so, you ask? Well, according to Ubisoft, they allow for a more unique experience by letting players personalize their characters or speed up progression. You know what? Let's not read the article. Let's actually just go to the quarterly report. Okay, let's go to the first-hand source of this information, okay? We are on page 10 of Ubisoft's latest financial report, section Group Business Model and Strategy. Let's take a look right here, okay? I'm gonna read this word for word. At Ubisoft, the golden rule when developing premium games is to allow players to enjoy the game in full without having to spend more. Our monetization offer within premium games makes the player experience more fun by allowing them to personalize their avatars or progress more quickly. However, this is always optional. So I like how they don't want to say microtransactions. They say our monetization offer within premium games. So a premium game is a game that you've already paid full price for. Okay, so you've already spent $70 on the game, and then they have a monetization offer within that game. Okay, I'm gonna blow Ubisoft's mind again, and they honestly should pay me a lot of money for this video, right? This video right here, I am giving them such key insight to the gaming industry that they can use this information to make thousands and thousands of dollars. So I should send an invoice to Ubisoft for this insider information. I should charge them a consulting fee for this video, okay? Because I'm about to blow their mind. This is Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game came out 4 days ago. In this game, get this, okay? Everyone in Ubisoft, take a seat. You're about to lose your mind, okay? In this game, I can change the clothes of Donkey Kong for, get this, no more money. I get to just change his clothes for free. All I have to do is play the game and I actually unlock the ability to customize my avatar. Can you believe that? Isn't that crazy, right? Somehow Nintendo has figured out a way to add in the ability to customize my character within Donkey Kong without having to spend more money. Isn't that wild how they were able to figure that out? It's really weird how they were able to do that, right? And so when Ubisoft sits here and says our monetization offer makes the experience more fun by allowing them to personalize their avatars, well, how is it possible, okay, that competing game companies that have in their most recent releases give players the ability to personalize their avatars without a new monetization offer, right? How is that even possible? Oh, here's why. Because it's just baked in. It is simply baked into the cost of the game. It is simply part of the experience. Players do not enjoy microtransactions. They don't. If you spend 30 seconds reading online discourse around this topic, you will understand that 90+% of players do not like microtransactions. Okay, the last 10% are either indifferent or they're rich, so they don't care, right? 90% of gamers do not like microtransactions, but you're right, they do like personalizing their avatar, right? And so the way to actually solve this problem is allow players to personalize their avatar without charging them more money. And the way that you can accomplish this is by having unlockables within the game that reward the player for exploration or for achievement.
Perfect game that has that incentive is Odyssey and Vikings Valhalla, man. Crazy. And I think Origins, Assassin's Creed Origins had that shit.
Achievements or something like that. So a classic example is World of Warcraft. Okay, this is one of the biggest
Crazy.
arguments against microtransactions in World of Warcraft, yet Blizzard continues to do it because they don't know what is good for them. Okay, but the point is, let's say World of Warcraft designs a really cool dragon that you can ride around on, right? You've got two choices. You can either charge the player $20 for that dragon, they spend the $20, they can ride on that dragon instantly. Okay, it costed them $20. Everyone else does not get to ride that dragon ever. It's locked behind a paywall. GG, you're done. Okay, the other route that they could take is that they could make unlocking this dragon the consequence of a really challenging or fulfilling or fun adventure, whether it's defeating a certain raid boss, or whether it's completing a certain quest line, or whether it's grinding a certain achievement, or whether it's just earning enough reputation in a certain faction or something like that. Now players have a reason to log in and play your game. Players see everyone else with that dragon and they think, wow, that player has achieved something really cool within the game, and they respect that achievement. However, when you charge them $20 for the dragon, then people see that and they say, oh wow, that's a whale. Oh wow, that loser is just paying for all of his convenience, right? That loser doesn't know what they're doing with their money. They're just pissing it away on World of Warcraft. This is the problem that Ubisoft is facing, and they think that the correct strategy is the increased monetization, right? Listen, I understand that games are expensive to produce these days, okay? I fully understand that, and you may not be able to recoup your costs by charging the customer $60, $70 for the box price, right? I totally get it. I totally understand why these games have microtransactions, but here's the truth, okay? First of all, you are too big to succeed, okay? Ubisoft as a company, you've got way too much overhead, you move way too slow, you cannot react to market trends, you're failing because you're doing all the wrong things as a business. Like you, and again, this goes right to the CEO, you are failing at your job. You are not good at your job. Someone else should take your job because you're not good at it. Look at your stock price. Your company is failing, it is crashing, it is burning, and you've only had negative press lately, okay? You are not doing a good job. I'm sorry.
Damn, this
no one told
guy's
you that. I'll be the
trashing
first one,
this
okay? If you want
company.
customers to give you even more money on top of a box price, okay, the value within that needs to be so astronomically high that your customers are convinced that they're getting an extremely good deal, okay? That is literally the end of the open and shut case, okay? If customers look and they say, wow, all I have to do is spend $5 and I get all this other stuff and I get to keep it forever, even when the server's shut down in 2-3 years, or in Ubisoft's case 2 or 3 months, right? I'll still be able to download and have that on my drive, and I'll get to always use this certain outfit or the certain, mount or whatever the case might be, right? You have to provide tremendous value, and it has to be within the context of a good game. All of this stems from making a game that people like, okay? And the customer's not stupid. Well, some of them are, but most of them are not. And the reason that Ubisoft is tanking as a company is because customers aren't dumb. They look at your games, they don't see quality, they don't see passion, they don't see anything new, interesting, exciting, innovative. They look at it and they think it's just another Ubisoft slop garbage game, okay? So you can't have a trash game and then put makeup on it. It's putting lipstick on a pig. It's not going to work. People don't want, it's a slap in the face to not only charge them full box price for a trash game and then to continue to stretch your hand out and you're begging for more money. Like, that's not how this works. All of this stems from a quality gaming experience. That's it. It's really that simple. And again, this is another point on the graph that just shows that Ubisoft doesn't know what gamers want. How do you operate a gaming company and not know the basic fundamentals of what your customers want, right? Like, that'd be like if Domino's Pizza started selling car tires, right? Like, well, do you know what market you're in? Do you know who your customers? Do you know why?
Let's see what's up with the next video, bruh.
Luke, thank you for the 5. Good name, by the way. Did you see GTA 6 is predicted to make $8 billion in 2 months from investors, I think? Yes. So there's a company called Convoy, and they do a lot of like investment and industry insight reporting and things like that. They did this report that we touched on in a little bit on stream like a couple months ago, where they deep dove into GTA 6 and all of that stuff, going through each of these, where they go through the entire industry, they go forward, they make projections, they estimate, they're trying to predict the price is 80. They break down in-game purchases for GTA 5 and how this broke down. This was kind of interesting because this breakdown really gives you an example of how these games have changed. The early ones, so you can see they compare how these are structured from release to release. So you start in 1997, no microtransactions, no subscription required. It's just a single player only project. And then they, as time goes on, steadily get more and more things introduced, more monetization opportunities introduced, and it just continues snowballing like that. But look at this. GTA 5 original, microtransactions, yes. GTA Plus subscription?
Guess what, y'all? No commercials.
No. So check mark, check mark, check mark. And you go through this. GTA Plus introduced. This is something that like those of us who have been out of the GTA game for a long time may not be aware of, but they introduced this GTA Plus subscription service back in 2022, and it's been normalized within that community at this point, but they're going to carry that forward into GTA 6 and their online mode, and it's probably going to be even more aggressive. And if you don't know what that is, the premium membership for GTA Online players. Oh. What benefits? GTA Cash to bolster your bank account. Special amenities at the Vinewood Club. New selection of monthly benefits. Enhanced CEO and VIP perks. Access to Rockstar Games titles as well. Wow. Wow. You see all sorts of specialty cars and vehicles that are exclusive to members. So you either get them for free or you get them at steep discounts as well. So you can save money on your ones and zeros. That's very nice. And I mean, people go hard for this. And it's one important thing to understand. Again, there's a good number of people who play these games a lot, you know, but same with like Star Citizen or Fortnite or Roblox or any of these like big platform games. There are people whose hobby is GTA Online or GTA roleplay or whatever. Like they don't really play a lot of other games. This is their hobby. So they spend a lot of money on that hobby. You know, they might occasionally try another little game here or there, but in general, when they get home from work, they boot up into this. Like this is what they play. This is what they do. Now, why am I bringing up GTA Plus? Well, because this is a major factor in these analysts' estimations of how much money is going to be generated. As you can see here, looking ahead to GTA 6, we believe they will use Call of Duty and Fortnite as their North Star for how to monetize the incredibly large and expanding player base for GTA 6. Call of Duty, $70 for
Yeah, bro. I'll be dropping maybe in like a day or two, or maybe sooner since you asked, bro. I'll drop.
the game, $10 for an 8-week battle pass, and $2
Just for
to
you.
$100 in-game currency packs to buy skins and other items. Fortnite, free to play the game, $9 for a 10 to
Appreciate
11-week
you,
battle
buds.
pass, and $12 a month subscription, includes battle pass and other perks, and $9 to $100 for in-game
Stay
currency packs
tuned
to buy
to quit
skins
whatever
and
it is
other
you're
in-game
doing,
items.
my brother.
GTA 6, here are their predictions for what they're going to do. $80, they do not need to charge 100 plus. He thinks they're going to stick to 80. Seasons and battle pass, $10 a month, or $15 seasons if they're 2 to 3 months long. In-game currency, $5 to $200 options on a sliding scale. And they point to a lot of other references within the industry for this. And then this is the really interesting thing, okay? Right here. Convoy projections, just to put it in perspective, okay? They're estimating over the lifetime of GTA 6, it will cost roughly $2 billion. There's been references made offhand where people say, oh, it's going to cost $2 billion to get it to launch day. No, the understanding is that over the course of the original estimate where that number, $2 billion comes from, is...
I appreciate you, man. I'm surprised you're up right now because I'm in the States, man. It's like where I'm at, it's like 2 in the morning. I was hoping nobody would catch me right now, huh?
An analyst that said over its
You
lifetime,
got
it
me,
probably
bruh.
costs $1 to $2 billion
You
to
got me.
build and maintain and run. It might only be $1 billion by the time it launches, if that makes sense. But these industry analysts are going to break this down and showcase based on their current projections of demand and this, you know, there's some complicated math tied into this with like current gaming discourse, growth projections from previous games, industry growth, all of that stuff ties into this. But
Oh,
their
and,
analyst projections.
I moved up north in Northern Cali right now, and I found me some 8s for like $26, bruh. I'll drop a review on that bad boy. I was almost thinking they're like, shoot, they're a little too cheap, but not bad. I think some of them are not bad. I'm not gonna say all of them are good, but some of them are not bad at all, bruh.
Are pre-orders for GTA 6 will sell 10 million units just in pre-orders, and that will account at $80 to $800 million in revenue. Again, revenue, not profit. So you got to take the cut for the platform. You got to take, you know, PlayStation or Xbox's 30% cut, retail fees, all of that. But $800 million in revenue before it even launches. It's a lot. Day one, they're estimating 15 million units on day one. At $80 a pop, that's another 1.2 billion. By day three, they're estimating another 10 to take them up to 35 million total units sold. And that's another 800 million. By day 7, they're estimating another 5 million that'll be tacked on to that. That takes them to 400 million more. Within the first month, they are guesstimating a further 20 million units over the following weeks, specifically because their estimation is that GTA Online launches a month after the game. So there will be some people who aren't that interested in the single player component, but there will be a lot of people who are interested in the online. Like all of the biggest streamers you can think of, whether it's Kai or even like Speed, XQC, all of them are going to be playing a crap ton of GTA Online, GTA Roleplay. Like that's going to be the big thing. So they're estimating a big spike in sales right before or right when that happens. Okay. That's what these guys are estimating. And when that happens, they are estimating by that 30-day mark, a further 20 million units, bringing them to 60 million units sold
Doesn't
to
look
date,
that bad.
which is a further $1.6 billion in revenue. And by the
At
time 2
48,
months has passed, especially once the
480p.
online starts to really pick up steam and everybody's playing it, all the streamers are playing it, they're estimating a further 25 million units, which takes them to 85 within 2 months, which is a further 2 billion, taking them to a 2-month running total of about $7 billion just in copies. That's just revenue, but that's their estimation. And then they're estimating on day, basically when the online mode launches, a 10% adoption of copies sold onto the online mode's exclusive premium currency or premium membership. And then by
Yeah,
2
man, they
months,
look
that number
ugly.
will raise to 20% of total copies sold. 20% of people will have the online subscription service. Now, I'm going to go through and offer my opinion on these numbers in just a second because I think some of them are aggressive. But their like analysis is suggesting, based on these stats and based on raising the price from $7.99 a month to $8.99 a month, they're estimating that that will then generate a further $180 million in revenue just from that membership. And then further IAP conversions, so percentage of total games sold, generating a further 680 million, bringing the total to $7.66 billion.
That's
Now, here's the
crazy,
deal.
bro.
GTA 6 is going to be the biggest thing.
7.6 billion for
It's going to be the
GTA
biggest.
6.
Every big streamer is going to be talking about it. It's going to pierce the veil of the mainstream, just like Red Dead 2 did. It's going to be huge. Okay, it just is. And
It's
I
gonna be
understand every time we talk about
huge.
GTA 6, there's
It's
people in chat
gonna
who are
be
like, "Well,
huge.
I'm not interested in GTA 6, so I don't think it's going to do well." It's like, okay, but as always, we got to remember our
gonna
bubble.
be
Okay,
huge.
our bubble is fairly isolated. We talk about games. You're watching a guy ramble about video games right now on a stream randomly on a Thursday afternoon. I appreciate you for doing that, but we are in the minority. The vast majority of people are the types who buy 1 to 2 games a year, and they spend a lot of money on microtransactions within those games. This is just statistically the reality. Okay, they are the like FIFA players, or I guess now it's football championship. I don't remember the Madden players. It's the like Fortnite, Roblox players. It's the Call of Duty players. Those are the guys that are technically the mainstream, okay? And GTA has a massive mainstream appeal. It just does, okay? It just does. So I think that honestly, these numbers and estimations for like maybe pre-order numbers and day one sales, not crazy far off from what I think is possible for GTA 6. Where I think they start to get a little silly is when they start to get close to the online stuff. Personally, I don't see the acquisition rate for GTA Plus being anywhere close to 10%, much less 20%. If you're telling me that you sold 85 million copies, I don't think 20% of those people, you know, a solid 16 million people are signing up for GTA Plus to get like a discount on in-game cars. Like, I just don't see it. Even as big as GTA 6 will be, I just don't see 20% of 85 million copies adopting this. Like, I just don't see it. Do I think they're selling 85 million copies on console alone in the first 60 days? Well, so that ties into what I'm saying with the online thing. I feel like they get to the point at day 30 where they're like, yeah, this is when online's going to kick in. Let's just add 20 million and 25 more million. Like, you're starting to run out of consoles, dude. Like, am I crazy? How many PS5s have been sold so far? As of May 2025, they've sold 77.8 million PS5 consoles. And how many Xbox Series X's? 32 million? Like, are we saying that a solid 70, 80% of all current gen gamers are going to be buying GTA 6? Like, that's a lot, dude. That's a better attachment rate than like Mario Kart. You know, and some of those Xbox players also have PlayStations. You know, they're not going to be buying 3 copies, you know, just to boost the numbers. You know, yeah, people share it too. Yeah, people share it. Or like, if I buy a copy for PlayStation 5, like I have a few PlayStation 5s throughout my house. Granted, I do this for a living, but I do know some other people who have one in like their like bedroom on their gaming
I
desk.
don't
And then one in
even
the living room.
have
Like, I know
a
people that have multiple
PS5,
consoles. So I don't know. I don't think there's enough people
I'm
to
still
sell
rocking out
85
my
million
PS4.
copies in 2 months. Personally, now counterpoint. I hear you.
But I
I hear you
don't
barking,
play
big dog.
I don't play,
a lot of people are going to be
live.
transitioning into this generation with GTA 6.
Or
They're going to be
online.
waiting to get into the generation until they have this game. When this game comes out, they're going to go to the store, buy GTA 6 physical, and also a PlayStation or an Xbox, which is certainly true. There's going to be a lot of people who go and buy a console, a current gen console, for the first time, and I think that that's very likely. I think that's very likely that there are maybe another handful of millions of units sold as a result of that. But I still don't think you got 85 million. I mean, that's so much. That is so much. It's hard to stress just how many copies that is. So I feel like, you know, pre-order and day one numbers are aggressive, but certainly possible. But then we start to get to like day 3, another 10 million. I mean, that'd be a lot. We're talking 35 million copies in 3 days. It is GTA 6. It'll be the biggest thing anybody's ever seen. So it's not impossible, but it would be crazy. This would be crazy. Day 7, another 5 million. We're starting to run out of gamers. I think we're really starting to run out of gamers, but to just throw on another 20 and by this point 45 million copies, I just personally don't see that, man. Maybe, but I'd be shocked. I would be shocked. I guess, you know, time will tell, but and beyond that, a 10%, 20% adoption rate for GTA Plus, the subscription, unless they overhaul it significantly and offer a lot more value, I don't think that's happening personally. I just don't see it. Do you guys think it's anywhere close to realistic? I mean, I don't see it. I think 30 FPS will hinder. There will be some people, like, you know, honestly, like, this is the one, I guess, benefit they have with how they've set this up. The people who are particularly and especially turned off by 30 FPS, a lot of them have gone to PC, to where the hardcore hardware is, where the more powerful hardware is, where you can get much better frame rates. I don't think the, again, average console player cares that much. I just saw like a YouTube short the other day of a guy that was playing, I don't know, was it Spider-Man or something? He's playing some game on his PlayStation 5. And this video, by the way, had like 160,000 likes, okay? It went like basically viral, millions by millions of views. So a lot of people found it relatable. And he's playing, and somebody in his chat says, oh, turn on performance mode. He's like, what is that? And he goes in, he's on fidelity mode, and he turns it to performance. And he's like, oh, I guess it looks a little smoother. I guess it looks a little different. And like he just kept playing, but it like was not a big deal to him. And I mean, there's other times where people, you know, we've all seen the videos where they switch it, somebody sees 60 FPS for the first time, like, oh my God, how could I live without this? It's amazing. Like we've seen those too. But I do think there's a lot of more casual gamers who can't really tell and don't really care. Like I didn't believe it, but I tested it with my wife. I feel bad. Like I used her like a test subject.
Obvious that people running the largest companies within the video game industry wouldn't want Stop Killing Games to be successful. They haven't really been checked up until this point. Yeah, their predatory monetization systems have been called out by gamers, but they still implement them. Yes, up until this point, gamers have still been buying live service titles or really just renting licenses to access games. But while Stop Killing Games has hit its 1.4 million target, we now have CEOs coming out and saying, oh, this is just super unrealistic, guys. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Stop Killing Games has been going super well so far. It has hit a bunch of its goals. So many gamers online are talking about it, and it really does seem like it could be successful. I, of course, am always going to be cautiously optimistic. We are talking about an industry that brings in hundreds of billions of dollars a year, and these companies will fight against this tooth and nail, and they will always try to convince people that it's not that serious. I mean, even the lobbyist group Video Games Europe, which has board members from companies like EA, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Games, Epic, tons of companies, has come out and said that you guys are wrong. You don't know what you're asking for, even though we definitely know what we're asking for. You would just not scam us out of our money. But now we have the Ubisoft CEO addressing Stop Killing Games, and it seems that they're panicking, which isn't particularly shocking because they don't want Stop Killing Games to be successful. They don't care about respecting their customer base. They don't care about actually treating us like people who are purchasing a product. They just view us as walking wallets, and it will always be that way. But the EU consumer rights campaign Stop Killing Games reached its 1 million signature goal earlier this month, snowballing out from Ubisoft's shutdown of racing game The Crew in 2024. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot was asked to respond to the movement at a recent shareholders meeting, and while that response was tentative, it wasn't a complete dismissal. Now, at this shareholders meeting, they basically admitted that they are in a state of disaster. They admitted they didn't understand why Star Wars Outlaws failed. They basically just said, oh, it's the Star Wars brand fault, which I do partially believe is the case. I think that it's one piece of the puzzle, but I also think that it was just a very buggy and broken and undercooked game, and they don't want to admit that, so that's a major problem. We also know that Ubisoft stock is nearly at an all-time low, which is abysmal for them, and Yves Guillemot's son is actually now a co-CEO of their subsidiary, which I don't even think that is a smart move, given he was basically canceled back in 2021 for the BLM in-game situation. Like, I just don't think that that is what they need for their image right now, but continuing on, it says, regarding the petition, we operate in a market, he said, as noted by GameFile. And whenever we release a game, we provide a lot of support for that game. Yeah, don't tell that to the X-Defiant players. We also provide a lot of services to make sure that game is accessible and remains playable 24/7. He also says that the company provides information regarding the game and how long the game can be played, though he doesn't go into specifics about how those notices work because they don't work. Okay, it's like with Concord, for example. That game survived for 12 days and then they just decided, you know what, we're going to shut the servers down. Ubisoft can do the same thing. Now, with a game like X-Defiant, they did give some warning, but they still, in theory, could have just shut it down whenever they wanted, and they don't want to admit the control that they have, how they could just do that, and really, gamers wouldn't be able to fight back against it. It says, though, The Crew did have a badge on its front box noting online connection required and a notice in the fine print on the back that Ubisoft may cancel access to one or more specific online features upon a 30-day prior notice, which 30 days is not nearly enough for gamers, in my opinion. I believe that it should be months upon months. I understand that a company wants to be able to shut down a game whenever they feel like it, but we, first of all, we're not even asking for live service games to be this popular and this prominent. Most gamers have always fought back against live service titles, but to top all that off, it's like companies feel that when they launch a live service game, they can launch it in a very mediocre state. We're not talking about most live service games launching in a extremely solid state. Usually they're underdeveloped and they say, you know what, we'll just push it out and say, oh, there's a big content update coming in a month or a month and a half. They feel like that is acceptable, and of course it's not. But it's also not acceptable that they can rip away a product that you purchased whenever they feel like it. Now, here is his controversial statement, but this kind of issue is not specific to Ubisoft. All video game publishers are faced with that issue. You provide a service, but nothing is written in stone, and at some point the service may be discontinued. Nothing is eternal. And we are doing our best to make sure that things go well for all players and buyers, because obviously support for all games cannot last forever. And it is true that no game can be supported forever, but forcing companies into perpetual updates isn't what Stop Killing Games is all about. If they took 5 minutes to actually pay attention to what this movement was about and what the petition had said, they would know that that's not the case. The goal is to get publishers to implement an end-of-life plan to modify or patch the game so it can run on customer systems even after a server shutdown. People simply want to be able to access their purchase years down the line. We're not asking for constant updates. We're not asking for you to infinitely keep it alive and support it. We're just asking for you to either give us the tools or have some kind of plan in place. And we're not even talking about games that have already released. We're talking about games going forward. It's not like we're asking you to go through 100,000 freaking games that you guys have pumped out and to start updating ones from, 10 years ago. That's just not the case. And of course, all of these CEOs and these executives and developers are going to try to convince you that what you're asking for is unrealistic, when of course it's not. If you purchase a product, you should be able to use that product whenever you feel like accessing that product. It's just that simple. But of course, Yves Guillemot here is panicking right now. Ubisoft is falling apart. They're facing major backlash, and this is not going to help his image at all whatsoever. I don't even really know why he would decide to make this statement when he didn't initially have to. I get that it was at a shareholder meeting, maybe he was specifically asked about it. Either way, though, it was just not a good response either, because it completely misrepresents what Stop Killing Games is all about. It's not about keeping a game infinitely supported. It's about preserving video games and preserving our purchases and protecting our purchases. And we're just asking for companies to show us a shred of respect, which of course they never want to do. So now the Ubisoft CEO is addressing Stop Killing Games after overseeing the deaths of titles like The Crew and X Defiant, saying support for all games cannot last forever when that's not even what SKG is all about. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone
See how my homepage looking. So PS4 Pro is good to get, I guess, is what I'm hearing. They might give me some bundles. They might get us some bundles. Bloom, bloom, bloom. Let's see what's going on in the world. Hey, you know what? Appreciate y'all for staying till it's equipment. Whatever it is you doing. I'll be dropping some reviews. Maybe doing some lives. But like maybe a Far Cry live or something like that. A game. I'll stream a game that I'm playing.
Manuel, speaking of fakery, Manuel,
Let's see. Not looking at anything. I don't see anything I really want to watch right now. Let me see. Hold his own. Retired. Moist. What the? Oh, Infamous. That was like a PS3 game I used to like playing. I think it's a PS3. Not sure. So much going on in the world. I don't know what to click on. You know what? Shout out to y'all. Oh, I watched the best Yola's thing right here. Dang, let's see. Nothing. Yeah, I ain't seen anything. Till tomorrow. Or whenever I'll stream again, man. Oh, wow. Until next time, y'all. Stay till it's quit.